best cheesecake I've ever had in my entire life is not from Cheesecake Factory, is not from some fancy restaurant or fancy bakery. It's from Costco. Yes, Costco, I think, in my opinion, has the best cheesecake. The texture is just perfect. It's on point. It's super creamy, and it's got this beautiful crack-free surface. And it's also so cheap. It's such a good deal. But it's also 12-inch. It is huge. By the time that I finish the whole thing, I feel guilty as so we might as well make it at home, but like smaller. Today, I'm gonna be sharing with you a few tips on how to make super creamy and absolutely crack-free cheesecake. It's gonna be so beautiful and so delicious. Before we begin, if you have not subscribed to our channel, make sure you do. You're one click away from like a really delicious and really creamy and crack-free cheesecake. And give us a like if you will. And let's dive into how to make super creamy and crack-free cheesecake.
So, to make a super good and creamy cheesecake, it really only takes a few simple ingredients. And to achieve that crack-free surface, we're going to want to start with a smooth batter. And to get that super smooth batter, you're going to want to start with very soft, room temperature, full fat cream cheese. Take it out several hours or even the night before you bake the cheesecake. If the cream cheese is too cold, it's going to make the batter really chunky, and we want smooth. There are many different vessels you can use to bake your cheesecake in, but the best one to use is going to be a springform pan or a cake pan with a removable bottom like the one I have here. This is going to make removing the cheesecake very easy. I'm going to get my cake pan prepped up real quick here. I'm wrapping the bottom with 2 layers of aluminum foil because we're going to bake the cheesecake in a water bath later. I want to make sure no water is getting into the cake pan. I'm also going to oil the inside and line it with some parchment paper to make it even easier for the cheesecake to remove. Okay, now that we got that ready, we could get to the cheesecake batter. In a large bowl, dump in 1 pound, that's 2 packs of 8 ounce of very soft cream cheese. Bust out your trustworthy hand mixer or a KitchenAid stand mixer and beat it until the cream cheese is very smooth. You want to get rid of as many big chunks as possible. And of course, you could do this by hand if you feel like doing a little workout. To make the cream cheese extra creamy and delicious, you're going to need some creme fraiche. I have a video on how to make creme fraiche at home. It's basically a French version of sour cream. It's super easy to make and much cheaper. I'll put a link below, so be sure to check it out. It really brings out the flavor of the cream cheese and adds an extra tang. It also improves the texture of the cheesecake and keeps it moist. Half a cup of creme fraiche goes into the bowl, followed by 1 cup of sugar and a 1/4 teaspoon of salt. Give it another mix and scrape the bowl down with a spatula to ensure no lumps are stuck on the bottom. Add in 1 tablespoon of lemon juice and 1 teaspoon of vanilla extract. Crack in 2 whole eggs, then start mixing again. And here comes tip number 4. Do not overmix and whip too much air into the cheesecake batter at this point. Too much air in the batter will cause it to rise too much while baking. It will collapse once it's cooled and lose that beautiful smooth surface. Once the eggs are just combined, switch to a spatula, scrape down the sides, and give it a few stirs to make sure the eggs are well incorporated. Lastly, mix in 1 tablespoon of AP flour to help bind everything together. If you see some little lumps of cream cheese that didn't get smoothed out earlier, it's really not a big deal. As long as it's not a big chunk, the cheesecake is still gonna come out smooth and creamy. Oh damn! We haven't made the crust, have we? So normally you would use graham crackers for the crust. It's classic. I'm using digestive biscuits today because that's what I have available. Oreos or Biscoff are great too, but I think you already know that. Cookie crumbs go into a big bowl, and remember to always salt your crust. That's half a teaspoon of salt and 3 tablespoons of brown sugar. Give it a quick mix and pour in 3 tablespoons of melted butter. The butter will bind everything together, and when it looks like wet sand and when you press it with your hand, it holds its shape, it's done. Dump all that into the prepared cake pan and start pressing it down with your hand or a spoon. When the crust is nice and firm, pour all that cheesecake batter into the pan and give it a few taps to release any big bubbles that's hiding in there, or as Chef John likes to call it, the old tabba tabba. Okay, it's time to bake the cheesecake. In order for the cheesecake to bake evenly and have a super smooth surface, we're gonna bake it in a water bath. This is also gonna keep the cheesecake super creamy. Place the cake pan in a large pan. Bake it in a preheated 300 degrees Fahrenheit oven, convection off, for about 1 hour and 10 minutes, but we're gonna come back and check it when it's at the 50-minute mark. We're baking it at a very low temperature because we don't want any color on top. It's also a good way to prevent cracking. Pour some boiling water into the pan, close the oven door, and we'll check back in 50 minutes. To tell if the cheesecake is done or not, we're gonna perform the jiggle test. You see how it jiggles in the center, but in like a very liquidy way? That means it's not done. I'm gonna give it another 15 minutes. Alrighty, I think the cheesecake is done now because when I shake it, it jiggles a little, but the center is pretty set. It's no longer liquid-like. Tip number 8, don't take out the cheesecake immediately. Leave it in the oven for 1 hour, but with the door open. The sudden temperature change can cause the cheesecake to collapse too fast, which can make it crack. We're gonna let it chillax and get comfortable. Sorry to tell you this, but you gotta chill that cheesecake overnight. Don't even think about cutting it right now when it's warm. It needs time to chill and fully set in the fridge. Good things will come to people who are patient. And when I say good things, I mean you're gonna get a really, really good cheesecake. Final tip. Dip the knife in hot water to make cleaner cuts. Wipe down the knife after each cut and you're gonna get a super gorgeous slice. And that's how you make a super creamy, crack-free cheesecake.